We are live on YouTube and soon to be live on Collaborate. Where are we over here? Okay. Team, how are we doing?
Hello.
Hello. Hello. We will not be very long tonight because we are streaming
How long do you think we will take?
probably about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's not going to be long. Okay, I'll click the recording on this one. So I'm recording on YouTube and recording it on there as well. I'm just going to go over what the plan is for this for the test for the exam on Thursday. Okay. What I have done, you guys notice I've marked assessment 3. I haven't finished marking assignment 2. I'm just trying to get through it. We've got to move back. I'm actually moving back into building 28 tomorrow. It's I've got to generate quite a lot of questions for the exam too. So the exam's going to go like this. I'll be quick, brief, and succinct. You guys can see, hopefully, on paste it in the. How am I going to do this? Paste it in the chat. Yeah, I'll paste it in the chat there. All right. I've pasted it in the chat, which we can't see on there. How can we do this? We can do it like this. Yeah, we can probably do it like this. Go collaborate is there, and I've got the text there. So I've got that on YouTube. All right, I'll just talk to the text. Can you guys see the chat? All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Sweet. So just before I start, the third assignment was pretty well done for the most part. Basically, the people that I think rocked up, paid attention, and followed the material did pretty good. So I don't think there were any scores above 18. There weren't many scores below 10. There are a couple, but I'm hoping we can push everyone through. See how we go for the exam on Thursday. Okay. And as promised, I have gone and made it easier. It's just basically just going to be easier than it has been in previous years. So it's going to be a collection just of short questions. You'll get 30 questions, and I've put the amounts and the topics up on the in the chat at the moment for you guys, and for everyone on YouTube can see it on the screen as well. So the first 6 weeks, there's only one question from each of the first 6 weeks. There's 2 questions for weeks. What is that? Weeks. The stat modification and tort. So there's 2 questions for weeks on topics 7 and 8. There's 3 questions each for topics 9 and 10, agency and trusts and real and personal property, and there are 7 questions from each of the final 2 weeks. And you'll be really pleased to know that these questions can be almost exclusively answered through the slides. If you know and understand the material that is in the slides, which I've enshrined in that docx, that Word document, you should be, if you understand the material and you have access to that, you should be able to derive pretty much everything in the final exam. When I say pretty much everything, there may be some things like some statutory interpretation. So that'll require you to go to one of the statutes that we've looked at, the Australian Consumer Law, or the Electronic Transactions Act, or the Acts Interpretations Act, or the Civil Liabilities Act, and find those things. The exam will be it'll be 2 hours plus some reading time for 30 questions. So you've got about 4 minutes per question. So that if you do need to go and find a statute, you do need to find the Civil Liabilities Act, or you do need to find the Acts Interpretation Act, or you do need to find the Electronic Transactions Queensland's Act 2001. You should have ample time to do that. I just recommend that you do the exam on a computer with a decent internet connection. I'd be really, really mindful about using your phone to go through and do that. I'll be available the whole time. And you guys, again, I don't really want to post it on YouTube. So if people are on YouTube, you can send me an email, ask me for my number, but I can put it in the chat here. So you guys can just call me on that number there as well. Okay. I mean, obviously the question is sort of skewed towards the end of the course. So half the exam, just under half the exam, is going to be the last 2 weeks of material, and there is one piece of information and one piece of information only that I'm going to give you that you must do. It's a little disappointed that some people didn't follow the instructions particularly well for that last task, particularly in terms of word count. So there are a couple of students that I had to go and do some.
Me,
Yep. No, your word count was fine, wasn't it? Mine, if it was over, it was only slightly over. What I did for people who went over the word count is that I worked out what the word count was plus the buffer. And if you were over that, I did a fraction. So if the word count plus buffer was 1,100 words and you'd written 2,200, that's double essentially. So you would have got 50% of your raw score. So if you were a little bit over, it's pretty negligible. If you're a lot over, it's quite noticeable. So it's just, I think that's fair. I mean, if anybody's more than willing to go through and lodge an appeal on anything like that, it seemed like a pretty reasonable sort of a thing to do. And the instructions were pretty clear as part of that too. I think there were 4 students that went over. And look, to be frank, I don't think any of them suffered hugely. I think one of them was quite a bit over, but it's fair's fair on that. Okay, now one piece of information you must follow for this exam: every single question the answer is a number. I'll say that again. Every single answer is a number, and in fact, they are all positive integers.
all numbers.
All numbers. So you'll see when you come to do the exam. I mean, for some of the earlier topics, that's a little bit tricky. So there'll be a list of statements. How many of these statements are true? But for questions later in the from the contract stuff onwards, sections of statutes. That's well. So you've got you'll have years and gaps of years. You'll have sections and statutes. You'll have dollars and calculations you'll have to do for dollars as part of it. Sometimes there'll be lists of statements where there'll be a couple of statements. How many of these are true? I thought about putting in how many arms of government are there, but that's essentially how it's going to work. So the upside of this is that you'll actually get your grade straight away after the exam for that. So you're not going to know your final overall grade because the assessments. And look, I've actually kind of done this deliberately because with the assignments, with the exams, I can't help you. I can't help you guys with it. There's no amount of working with it because this is an MBA subject though. If people are borderline, I've already got your assessments and I've given you guys feed forward for this as well. But if people need additional work, particularly if you're borderline, after all of the rest of your grades have come in, I will work with people for the assessment 2, to be able to push that up, even though it was due a few weeks ago. So that's don't think that you can just do any old thing in the exam and get through, because if you literally can't pass because of you're so far behind, then that's not going to save you. But I think that's quite I think it's a pretty fair mechanism, is it? Particularly for those that are going to be a bit borderline towards the end, and I suspect there will be a few students, particularly those that haven't been able to attend all of the
It's
classes.
30%.
Pardon?
It's 30% is
Yes.
worth.
Yeah, so it's 30%. So 30 questions worth 1 mark each. Some of them are going to have a range, so don't stress too much, particularly like adding and subtracting years. So for example, from 2 points in time, if it's the 26th of January 1788 through to The 1st of January 1986, for example, just as an example. As a result, I've given, for some of those questions, I've got a bit of leeway, 1 or 2 years either way. And also when things might be a little bit ambiguous, you get a little bit of leeway in terms of that. But the key thing to note, super, super, super important. I'm going to say this for Hina. Hina, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I just
Hi.
came online.
Okay. Well, I'm just telling everybody, the exam, the answers are all
Just let me
numbers.
get my pen. Just
That's,
give me a minute.
yep. And so the key thing to note, they're all positive integers. Do not put spaces. Do not put currency symbols, particularly dollar signs. Do not put decimal points. Do not put minus signs. Do not put commas. They're all positive integers. And I'll repeat this in the instructions. It'll go in the test, and I'll send an announcement out as well. But that's the key technical, key practical part of it. So the way they're going to be structured, but kind of hilariously for a law exam, I'm probably the first person in Australian history to do this. They've actually, no, it's not multiple choice. They're numbers. Every answer is a number. Every 30, so you're going to have 30 questions. You will have to have 30 different numbers as part of it. What about when it comes to dates? It'll be, I'll phrase the questions to be answered as numbers. Yeah, I won't. I probably.
Answer as numbers. I'm
Hina?
not getting this.
Okay, Hina. Every answer in the exam will be a number. And you'll see when you're going through and you're doing it, it may be a question like, how many of these statements are true? And it'll have a bunch of statements. You have to work out how many are true, and it'll just be a number 1, 3, 0. Or it will be a year. So it'll be a specific year, specific answer for a specific year. Or it will be a particular section in a piece of legislation, not a subsection. So do not put S, do not put space, do not put subsections. Everything is a positive integer. Okay, from 0 up to, well, nothing's going to be bigger than a million, for example. You don't put commas, don't put dollar signs, no parts, no division, no subsections, no sub-subsections, no chapters, no schedules. Only positive integers. And sometimes 0. So 0. What's that? Whole numbers? Integers? Positive integers? Positive integers and 0. So that's, I know that's going to take a little bit of thing for those, particularly those that have done law before. Katano is going to be going, what? But I actually don't think you guys are going to struggle too much with it. And I said, your take-home assignment gave me probably a first law law school history, yeah. And so look, you're going to have enough time to do it. Some of the things you're probably going to have to go off and read. So say, for example, if there's a question on, what in the, also for legislation, I'm going to use abbreviations as part of it, and I think that's fair enough too. If it's a piece of legislation that we haven't commonly used, I'll write it out in full. Otherwise, it's going to be an abbreviation. You guys should know what the ETA is. You should know what the CLA is. You should know what the ACL is, and what SOGA, Sale of Goods Act, is. These abbreviations, I think that's a fair thing to go through and do. If there is a statute that I want you guys to read, particularly something like the Acts Interpretation Act, because there's 2 of them, I'll write that out in full. But otherwise, you'd expect the abbreviations to be in there for you guys to be able to really identify what that is. Again, I don't think you had any dramas. Anybody had dramas in the either of the previous 2 assessments. Okay, and so for Hina's benefit, I'm just going to recopy and paste the Yeah, this bit here is for and those that have arrived later. There's one question. Oh, sorry, the first 6 weeks have got one question each. Nature, role, and sources of law, Australian legal system, formation, terms, vitiating factors, discharge. The first 6 weeks, there are only one question from a pool. Each of them is coming from a pool. There'll be 2 questions on statutory modification of contracts, 2 questions on tort, 3 on agency and trust, 3 on real and personal property. But the 2 big ones are going to be the final 2 lectures. There's 7 questions from intellectual property and 7 questions from the debt and bankruptcy and civil procedure and banking as part of it. Okay, so just make note. I'm not keen on putting check questions in there. I don't like them. So look, I'm at load to say no check questions. If there is a check question, it's going to be really easy. I'm going to make them really, 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 really easy. Because I can't do any visual representations of things. I can't say, oh, here in this check, which number is wrong, and everything's a number. So so you might, if you do get a question on checks or banking, if you do get one, I'm not going to put many in there in the pool because they'll be in a pool. If you do get one, they're going to be those ones are going to be quite easy. And that's it. That's really it. I didn't think this was going to be a very long session.
So Simon, but you say the answers will be already there. We have to choose from them.
No,
that's how it goes.
No, everything is a number. You will have to enter a number.
Yeah, but number you mean it will be already there, and I'm gonna pick up like if you have given 4 options, 1, 2, 3, 4.
There's no options.
And I think
there's no option.
What do you mean by number?
You will get a question that will say, here are 5 statements. How many of them are true? So that's going to be a number between 0 and 5. You might get a question that says, how long was it from the time where from Federation to the Australia Acts? So you would just literally have to go, okay, 1986 minus 1901, okay, 85 years. And just write 85. Don't write the word years, don't put spaces, don't put dots, don't put minus signs. 85. And with things like...
So we will have...
Okay, yeah, Enrico.
No. Who goes?
Navneet? Okay, so there's no question that needs explanation, right?
No, just numbers.
No words, just
no
numbers.
Words,
30
just numbers.
questions.
30 questions, all numbers. I'm like, I was hoping the business students would love it. Marie, if you've just joined us, I'm not sure if you can hear us.
Hey, yes, I can.
Yeah, hi, Marie. I'm just telling everybody that the exam, I'm just going to copy and paste the things. I should have probably done a little document. Oh, what I might do is I might just do this as a, I'll just head this up as a note paint file. So I'll put it on the screen because I'm finding I'm just putting it in the chat multiple times because the chat doesn't appear when you arrive in a session, you don't see the earlier chat, which is a little annoying. So I'm just going to put this on the screen now. Just bear with me. Size 20 font. Yes, there we go. I'm going to paste. It might be a bit bigger than that. 20. We'll make it 48 font. Oh, okay. Here we go. Blip, 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 blip. No, 48's too big. Nope. Definitely just the number. That's all good. That's all good, Marie. We're not. We're just talking about the exam. And I'm just going to put a little thing on there. So PNG. I'll just save it locally. CO5119 exam info. There's no respondus on the exam as well. You're not allowed to collaborate, but you're probably not going to be able to, I would think. All right, I'll just bring this up. Yeah.
We will have all the same questions.
They'll be in pools. It'll be like the first test, but they will be. Oh, what's happened here? I've lost I saved it in the wrong spot. It's just going to be like the first test. So everything will be from a pool of questions of approximately equal difficulty. Here we go. It's on the screen in about 10 seconds. This one here and here. There we go, guys. Hopefully that's going to be a bit easier. That's better. Okay, so that's that one there. And I can draw on it too. Okay, that's good. All right, so said these guys, these ones here at the start, they said because we've assessed these already quite a bit, there's only a little bit for those. We've assessed these a little bit more, so there's three of these ones down here. You guys, by and large, answered this one quite well in the take-home test. Although they said, when particularly applying the the test for fixes and chattels, that was kind of underdone. But people got the definitions and the explanations quite well, so that was fine. That worked. Yeah, just on the take-home test, bits that I found just interesting in terms of the numbers. I mean, I can go through. I can go through it with you guys if you want. Do you want me to go through it now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go through it now. So the first part, which was on contract and the Sale of Goods Act, most of you guys picked that it was sections. I think it was 17. Apologies, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. 17 subsection A and subsection C, the Sale of Goods Act as part of it. Some of you also quite rightly pointed out, well, it can't be a breach because there's an exclusion clause and they can't be excluded. And so I was pretty generous in all of these things, either or both, to get that one out there. Some of you guys did answer some of the other more obscure things in the Sale of Goods Act, like sale through the description. That's actually where you don't get to look at the goods in front of you. But again, I gave you guys marks for that because it wasn't something I had expressly told you guys in class, so that was fine. What was there after that? Then the Australian consumer law stuff. Again, some people talked about Section 18. Some people talked about the consumer guarantees. Some people talked about both, and that was fine. You got marks for this and you got marks for that. When giving the remedies, again, a good chunk of people talked about the remedies for damages and so on like that. Some people went into some obscure ones, and look, when you started going into things like civil penalties, that's where people were starting to lose marks on those sort of things, because you don't go into business to try and get other people to get criminal penalties. That doesn't make any sense in this area of law. But certainly some of you guys talked about the major failing when section, I think it's 259. As part of that, most of you guys were pretty good with Section 64 in the Australian consumer law, how you can't exclude those consumer guarantees. That was good, and the fact that you can exclude them under the Sale of Goods Act. So the contract stuff was actually done pretty well. The one thing there was a bunch of questions that bizarrely were done quite poorly, or sometimes you'd find people would answer them and they'd do the rest of it poorly. I never quite worked out why, but the definition of person is because of Section 2, capital C of the Acts Interpretation Act. So a good chunk of you guys got that one there as well. The question on agency, I just basically gave people opportunity to say pretty much whatever they liked. If you guys had gone through that little section and looked at the agency, some of the rules, and done some research, any answer that you guys had that was coherent and really aligned with either the rules of equity, the rules of agency, and the rules of contract, how you map that out and explain that was really up to you guys. Whether or not you thought the particular person was damaged the goods within the scope of agency, they just have to compensate for that. Yeah, it was. There were a few, largely because we don't teach it much. Neil doesn't teach it much to the undergrad either, and I didn't teach it much for these things here, and I'll probably address that for later years. Largely because I wanted trust to go in there and spend more time on that. I think Tom did a week on it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that'd be about right. Maybe longer. The rules are a bit strange. Agencies are a bit of an odd area of law, but the bit that I was a bit happier that you guys did do reasonably well was trust, and it was really noticeable. The people that turn up to class did well in the bit about trusts, and those that hadn't listened to the lecture didn't do quite so well. So it was a very polarizing question. And is that a good chunk of you talked about Section 101 of the Truss Act, and the fact that, look, by default, you can't get paid as a trustee. And in fact, sometimes you can be made a trustee involuntarily through the constructive trust, and so that you're not allowed to get paid. You've become a trustee because you've been naughty. So a lot of people made the mistake of talking about remuneration, as in when you go and incur expense, you can get reimbursed, which, yes, you can do, but that's not you as an accountant getting paid. And Section 101 maps it out. a little bit. It says, look, if it's ordinary, your profession, if you are a profession to go through and to operate and do these things, which as an accountant you might be or you might not be, but the key point was to start with is the instrument itself. You look at the trust deed. If the deed says you can't, then you can't. If the trust deed says you can, you definitely can. Otherwise, you have to either ask the court, or if you're in the business of it, make an argument that you're in the business of doing that. So you guys did, I think people did that pretty well. And again, I was pretty generous in terms of that. Also generous on the Roland, Saunders and Fortier, that dividing up of trust. You guys, I think, and really this is the key thing, you guys understood, most of you, the principles behind it. And really that's what I was after. I wanted you guys to recognize, hey, as a trustee, if one of our beneficiaries wants to take their stuff away, they don't want to be involved with this anymore, that they are allowed to, if it's fungible, if it can be chopped up. It's more problematic if it's not, because you have to demonstrate that the other's rights won't be prejudiced, if that makes sense. Or if you get consent from all the beneficiaries. But that was, by and large, the trust question was actually answered pretty well. The tort question was answered quite badly, unfortunately. Particularly the first question, I thought was really strange. There were very few people actually got. Look, there was there were two people that had said nasty things about each other and published that, so they're both defamation actions. There was negligence. People talked about action on the case, and they talked about all sorts of bizarre sort of things, intentionally inflicting harm. It's just straight up negligence. You owe occupiers, and people also talk about employees and employers. Nothing to do with employer. If you go to someone's house, they owe you a duty of care as the owner of land, or the occupier of land. If you're an entrant, they owe you a duty of care. If they leave manholes open or their stairs are in disrepair, that's their fault. They are the ones that can be sued in negligence for personal injury. I was a little surprised. And the last one was battery. If you throw something at somebody, it doesn't matter whether you're intending to do it or not. If you throw something at it and it hits somebody else, you've still hit someone. It's battery. It's direct interference with the person, trespass of the person, and so that not a lot of people got. I mean, it was only 2 marks to explain those things. If you just said literally battery, defamation, negligence for each of the 3. I can't remember the character's name. Bernice, by the way, actually comes from a case. I don't know if Gaetano, if any of you guys studied admin law. There's a case involving the Proserpine Golf Club that was heard up here in Townsville 2 years ago. And was my girlfriend's netball coach, because she's from Airlie Beach. Bernice was the life member, and they had a bit of drama because they kicked her out because she was difficult. That's why I put that name in there. But you're right. A lot of you guys said that the defamation could be both ways. Also thought it was strange that some people didn't mention defamation in that first question, but then talked about the elements of defamation, like later on. I looked at that and I'm like, really? You're talking about defamation here, and here I asked you what the causes of action were. And with causes of actions, you've got to be explicit. Negligence has these elements. Defamation has these elements. Battery has these elements. That's what a cause of action is. The defamation bit, people either got it or they didn't. It was quite polarizing. Some people appreciate, there's this loss of reputation, but that's only half the story. You've got to prove that it's been communicated. That was the bit that people missed that stopped them getting full marks for that. Also with negligence, duty, breach, harm, that needed to be explained just a little bit. The question that I think, I'm going to be blunt, Ravneed, well done. I think you were literally the only person that got, it was on, what was the amount? The dollar amount? That was 100?
Yeah, 75,000.
75,000. But because of the intoxication in the Civil Liabilities Act means that you can get, your damage award is reduced by 25%. You could have mentioned that, look, she probably is not going to get aggravated or exemplary damages here either. That could have come into it, and I would have awarded marks for that. But it was simply the intoxication rules. Oddly, some people even mentioned intoxication, but then said, but that's not going to reduce the damage awards. Well, that may be the way the eggshell skull rule might work, but in Queensland, there's a statutory rule. And we did actually go over it. This is both in the slides, and we talked about it in class. Thankfully, sometimes I was getting a little bit sad, and so I'm literally, it's really funny, while I'm marking them, I'm going, go, and I'm reading it, I'm getting towards the end, and I'm glad that the real property question came at the end, because sometimes I was getting through it and being really sad, and then get towards the end, and thankfully, a good chunk of you guys got, particularly the first 4 marks for the for that final question. The explanation of joint tenancy. You guys, you knew that. You knew fixes and chattels. You knew the but 3. Oh yeah, 20%. Yeah, thanks, Q. Yeah, too. A couple of you guys picked up on that as well. That was a typo. I changed the numbers and I changed it last minute as the fraction. So apologies for that. Again, there was no real marks allocated to that because it was a discussion question anyway. But apologies for that. And you hear about all sorts of things where people have changed stuff last minute. Yeah, thanks. And I don't want people to think that everybody who teaches law is terrible with numbers. No, we're not. I swear we're not. But I can't talk my way out of that one. I was wrong. Sorry about that.
Well, you were not wrong. You were correct because it's 1,500 plus 3,000. It's 4.5. Less 20%. It's 360.
But it was the 20%. I thought it was the amount was supposed to be 20. I can't remember. I have to go through that, have a look. But I thought I was wrong somewhere.
Was true.
That's all right. Not too worried about that. As long as they said it was a discussion type question too. And look, with that one, I wanted you guys to actually go and do that little bit of research on the osteo, and some of you guys did, which was good. And so the last bit question was on the test. Look, I was pretty generous on that, I've got to say. I'm surprised that you guys didn't. A whole bunch of you didn't try and use your word count. There's a reason why that word count was double for that section. It was because the test, I wanted to use the 3 tests for each of the things. Didn't have to be very much, objective intention, and literally as abbreviations, OIT, objective intention test, colon, just explain that in a few words for each of them. And so by and large, it was pretty easy to follow. So most of you guys did pretty well on that anyway. But it was difficult to get full marks. There were only 2 or 3 people who got full marks for that section. But overall, I was pretty choked. I wasn't, like I said, it was unfortunate for those that some fraction of the class I'm looking at it thinking, I haven't been particularly haven't been listening to the lectures. I don't think for some parts of it, which was a little bit a bit tricky. Okay, what else am I going to talk about here? I don't really have too much else to talk about, but for those again that came late, I'm building this test this week. I'm moving back to building 28. I have to do all of the exceptions for everybody across 3 colleges, which is basically half the university. So I'm very, 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 very busy. So I'm frantically running around just getting this exam put together. But upside of that is that you guys, because this exam is numbers and numbers only, you'll be able to get your that mark straight away. So you're going to know immediately what you're going to be needing for the assignment for each of the different topics. And so I'm happy to work with each and all of you when I go through and do a preliminary grade of your second piece of assessment. It's still worth 30%. 2 hours. I'll probably add a little bit more for reading time, so it might be 2 hours 15 just to get a bit of a buffer. And I'll stay in the collaborate room. Like I said, I put my phone number on there, and I'll just put it on the screen there as well. Oh no, because that'll put it on YouTube. I'll put it in the chat. It says 150 minutes. Okay, I guess it's going to be 150 minutes then. Thanks, Ravneens. Cheers. That's my mobile number there, so you can call me, or you can jump in the collaborate room if you do have any dramas. There's no there's no responders, so you don't have to worry about webcams and all that sort of stuff. It's full open books. You can go and have a look, but because it's all going to be a bit of thinking on the spot, because the questions, even though they're all numbers, they're going to be phrased in different ways. So what I'm making, so it's that take the time. The whole thing will appear, so you'll be able to go through it methodically with each one, to go through and read them. Go back and reread them. Double check your calculations for those that have calculations. There definitely will be for these ones down here. There's definitely going to be questions involving things like offers and the accepting of offers and costs, and I will put all of the information into the into the thing there. Yeah, that's all of those things there. So if you do need to come in and ask me a question, like I said, I won't be able to. I don't want to give too much away when we're during the exam itself. But you're welcome to jump into the Collaborate session and send me a private message, because unless there's that one there, unless it's something that I need to put up to make sort of public to everybody, which I won't imagine. So I'm going to get another staff member to check this exam over before we start. But yeah, just either send me a text message or call me, or jump into the Collaborate room and send me an individual message before, and probably send an email as well if you want a screenshot, if there are particular questions. Now, again, I won't be able to answer if I just go can't answer. But if there's something's ambiguous, I'm welcome. I'm happy to go through and do that. Like I said, I will be there for the whole time. And if I'm away, I'll only be away for a couple of minutes. I'll go to the bathroom and so on. Okay. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, team. Well, again, you're going to get your grade for the exam straight away. You won't get the actual answers. I'm not going to post all of them up, but you'll get your own grade straight away after the exam, which is, I guess, is kind of good. It's kind of weird for a law exam to do that too. So that, yeah, so that's good, I suppose. Does anybody have any questions? I want to ask the whole class as part of that, because it's probably, look, what I might do, I might still organize another session perhaps later on, just as a debrief, to go back over stuff at the end and particularly talk about your second piece of assessment when I've gone through and marked that, to answer any queries, do any reflection in regards to this subject. But it's just been a very, very strange year, a very strange semester. It feels like a million years since January. The world is a different place.
Next semester will be the same.
A little bit. You probably get light at the end of the tunnel, though. But yeah, it's going to be tricky to start with. A personal feedback. I can, if people want it, but I am loath to do that for a take-home test. I can do. I can go and do it, but I can't do it this week. Because I've got just other things, which is just going to be too hard. Okay, we can go through and do that. And look, again, I'm happy to go through, do feedback, and have it back for with the assessment too. I will go and I will release the grades once I've marked that, and release that to you guys. But I think particularly for those that are close to a grade slot, and this is not just close to pass. I'll definitely work with those that are close to pass. But I do want to go and work with those that are going to be close to a grade slot as well. I'm happy to go through and let people go through and do resubmissions for that. I'll work with you to go through and do that. So I've discussed assessment 3, but not assessment 2, Daphne. So that is that I'm at loath to just mark assessment 2, give you your grades, because then I can't help you with it. And I really, really, really want for the subject. It's got a very low in assessment 3. Okay, yeah, no worries, Karen. Sure. Yeah, okay, they're good. Send me an email. Send me an email in particular, and I'll go through that with you. I'll organise the time slot for that. That's fair enough. So if you did get things that were low, I think that's a fair enough goal. We'll make an exception there. So if there's not too many other questions, just remember when doing the exam. Yes.
I was just thinking, the first two, like, I'll be very clear with you. In the start, I could not get your accent, so I would miss most of your sentences. So I will have to go through for the dates, the first two, and I'm going to go crazy, like 3 hours and 3 hours. Like the first part that has lots of dates.
No, there won't be lots of dates. There'll be like some questions will, but there won't be. They're not all going to be date questions. They're going to be dollars for contract stuff. A lot of them are going to be dollars. Dollars, yeah, dollars. It'll be this person has a contract with this person, and they've done a shoddy job. Use the doctrine of substantial performance to determine how much money this person should pay this person. And I'll put some other bits of information in there as well. And so you go back through your notes, go back through the slides. The The doctrine of substantial performance. Ah, yes, that's right. The rule in Bolton and Mahadeva and Honing and Isaacs. Ah, that's right. Where a person substantially performed, but there is a minor defect that can be repaired. The thing can be discharged by performance by the seller, the person paying the money, paying the bulk of the contract less the amount that's reasonable in remedying the defect. And so all you'd be answering, the question will be answered like, how much should the person pay? And it'll be this much minus this much. And that's the amount you'll put in.
Means I will have to listen to lots of recordings again.
I'm
I
hoping.
used to miss your sentences in the middle.
Yeah.
And right now, since I'm getting hands-free, I know everything that you're saying.
Oh.
Like, for example, like the one that said 20% reduced because if you're intoxicated, that
25,
I know.
25%.
No, it was 20% when you're intoxicated, right?
No, I don't think
In this one,
the Civil Liabilities Act section. Let's do this.
Yeah, I remember it's in the lecture 20%. Maybe I might be wrong.
Liability Act called. Let's have a look. I'll bring it up on the screen. Oh, I can't bring up the screen because I haven't got it in. On YouTube, it's on the screen. I'll copy and paste it in there. Just bear with me. It's about 44-ish. Presuming section 47 sub 4. 47 sub 4 of the Civil Liabilities Act. It's this one here. Blip, blip, blip. Blip, 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 blip. Dot. Yeah, I'll hit that one there. It's the sub 4 anyway. Presumption intoxication. It just is. It's 25. It's a quarter. Yeah. It is 23, 24 as well. That's the amount. Yes. So I don't have too much to add, guys. Even though everyone's probably still on the stream, there's still 20 of us still there. But just remember, no spaces, no minuses, no decimal places, no currency, no S, no subsections, just raw integers and 0 if 0 is a positive integer. Yeah, that's it. That's all you got to need to know from a practical perspective.
Can I ask this question? I'm not sure if I can ask or not. In what things there are, like regarding the calculation ones, how many stuff are there that says this much % should be given as remedy?
I haven't worked that out yet. There'll be quite a lot, I would think, for the contract, the tort, and the offers stuff in the final part. For questions that don't really lend itself to numbers, possibly intellectual property, for example, there'll be fewer of those dollar calculations. So you will get number questions, but they'll be phrased in different ways. For example, how many times can you reapply to renew your patent in Australian law, for example? That's it. So again, you don't need to find the section. Well, you probably will need to go and find the section to read it, to just double check, and then there'll just be a number. Yeah, that's it. That's how that works. And that's
Simon.
Yeah.
Check assessment 2 before the final, because I don't see much grades.
No, I haven't done it. I haven't finished marking them, so that's why you won't have grades.
It won't be possible before assessment 4?
I would find it I will try. Look, guys, I'm really going to try. Appreciate that I was up till midnight last night. I'm going to be up till pretty late tonight, and I'm going to go tomorrow and do the same thing. I'm just going to try. That's all I can do.
That's okay.
Waking up early, waking up at 6 and going to bed at midnight. I'm going to try. I just don't want to. I want to promise you the things that I can definitely do, and I don't want to promise you things that I can't do. I will try to go through and do that. And as I said, for those that have struggled, again, send me an email. For those that really struggled, got below the pass mark, because I might have to allocate some time for that as well. But I'm going to try. Just going to try. It's been
No,
Yeah,
that's okay.
it's
I
been
can
busy.
judge my grades from assessment 3 and 2. They both were of the same level. So I'm going to give less marks to final. That's okay. I'm
Cool.
already not getting marks, I know.
Well, we'll see. We'll again, the key thing is with assessment 2 and why I'm keen to work with you guys afterwards is because this is an MBA level subject. I can literally mark your work and then go, hey, how about you go and resubmit it, do a little bit better, and get that grade slot, the high grade slot. That's what I'm quite keen to do for everybody in the class. I'm keen to go through and work to do that. And I do appreciate that, there's time, but we can do that after you guys have done your other exams. I'm very mindful for you guys. This is a stressful week for you guys. And so getting this exam out of the way will tell you where you're at. It'll tell you exactly what you're going to have to do for your assessment. I can work with you in order to be able to get you to the grade slot. And look, for some of you, that might be a P. For some of you, it's going to be an HD. So, or, and all the grade slots in between. I think that's it's just a practical solution. It means that because I've got stupid workloads, and again, there's COVID stuff have come into this too. It means that we can do the exam, give me a bit more time to go through and mark the assignment 2, while you guys are doing your exams for your other subjects, for those that are doing multiple subjects, and then we'll work together to see what we're going to need to get up to the required standard. And yeah, it's gonna, like, my grades are all going to look really weird. Everybody's going to get exactly 50, exactly 65, exactly 75, exactly 85. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that's where I'm at with that. So if there's no other questions, guys, I'm going to carry on writing your exam, if that's okay. Okay, thanks, team. It's been a pleasure, and like I said, we're going to do a debrief if I can, but it'll be at the end probably of the exam period. That I'll see if anybody's keen for something over at one night. It might even be on campus, by the way. For those that can make it on campus, we might have some. I bought Kiwi food last year or the year before, and we had like a feast. Just a bunch of Kiwi food's all like processed, but see how we go. Not a great, because it's All right, team. Good luck with the exam, and I'll talk to you fellas soon.